The night that was supposed to end him. The night was too quiet. No wind moved through the trees. No insects made a sound. Even the moon hid behind thick clouds. The valley felt empty, as if the world itself did not want to see what was about to happen. In the center of the valley stood a broken stone pillar. Old chains hung from it. The metal was cold and heavy. A small dragon child was chained to that pillar. His wings were torn. One horn was cracked. His silver scales were dirty and dull. There were marks on his body where fire had once burned him. Not enemy fire, but dragon fire. His own kind had done this. He did not cry. He had cried earlier when they first brought him here. When the elders of the Dragon Council looked at him with cold eyes. When they called him weak. No fire, one of them had said. No strength, said another. Bad sign, said the oldest dragon. The dragon child had tried to breathe fire to prove them wrong. Only smoke came out. The council had decided his fate quickly. He would be left in the valley as an offering to the shadow beasts. If he survived, then maybe fate wanted him alive. But everyone knew he would not survive. No dragon ever survived the shadow beasts. Now he lay there alone. The air was freezing. His small body shook, but he tried not to show fear. Dragons were not supposed to fear the dark, but he was still a child. He looked at the sky. The clouds moved slowly, covering every star. The darkness grew thicker. Then he heard it, a distant howl. Low, deep, hungry. The shadow beasts were awake. His heart beat faster. He pulled against the chains, but they were too strong. The metal cut into his scales. Another howl came, closer this time. The dragon child closed his eyes. Maybe it would be fast. Maybe it would not hurt much. He did not hate the council. He did not understand them. He only felt empty. He whispered something very small. I tried. Footsteps echoed in the forest. Not heavy like beasts. Light. Careful. The dragon child opened his eyes again. Through the trees, shadows moved. Not large shapes. Smaller ones. Humans. There were 5 of them, wearing dark cloaks and carrying weapons. They moved quietly, like they did not want to be seen. At the front walked a tall man with sharp eyes and a calm face. His armor was simple but strong. A sword rested at his side. Captain Eric. The human patrol had been sent to check the border. Dragons had been acting strangely for weeks. There were rumors of movement in the valley. One soldier behind Eric whispered, Sir, this place feels wrong. Eric nodded slowly. He felt it too. The silence was not natural. Then he heard something, a weak sound, like someone trying to breathe through pain. He stopped walking. Did you hear that? He asked quietly. The others listened. There was again a soft, shaking breath. It did not sound like a beast. It sounded small. Eric changed direction and moved toward the center of the valley. The soldiers followed carefully. When they reached the broken pillar, they froze. One soldier lifted his torch slightly. The light revealed silver scales. Dragon. One of them whispered, fear in his voice. The dragon child stared at them. He did not move. He did not growl. He did not show his teeth. He only looked at the man in front. Captain Eric looked back at him. This was no giant monster. This was a child. Chained. Beaten. Left alone. Eric's soldiers raised their weapons. Sir, we should end it now, one said quickly. If the dragons left it here, there must be a reason. Another soldier added, the shadow beasts are near. We must leave. The howls echoed again. Much closer now. The dragon child expected the sword. That was how this story should end. A human blade. Darkness. Silence. But Eric did not draw his sword. Instead, he stepped forward. Slowly. Carefully. The dragon child tensed, waiting for pain. Eric studied the chains. He saw the deep cuts on the child's scales. He saw the fear the dragon was trying to hide. This is not a trap, Eric said quietly to his men. Look at him. Sir, it's a dragon, one soldier argued. It's a child, Eric replied. Another howl shook the valley. Trees moved in the darkness. They were running out of time. Eric made his decision. He pulled out a small blade and knelt beside the dragon child. The dragon's eyes widened. Why was the human kneeling? Eric began cutting the chains. The metal was thick. It took effort. Sparks flew as the blade scraped against it. The soldiers looked nervous. One of them kept watching the forest. Sir, please hurry. The first chain broke. The dragon child did not move. The second chain fell to the ground with a heavy sound. The dragon was free, but he was too weak to stand. For a moment, they just looked at each other. Human and dragon. Enemies by history. Strangers by fate. Eric removed his heavy cloak and gently wrapped it around the dragon child's shaking body. The dragon expected hate. Instead, he felt warmth. Eric lifted him carefully into his arms. The shadow beasts burst from the trees. Dark shapes with glowing eyes. Too many. Eric turned to his soldiers. We move. Now. And as the first beast leaped forward, the human captain ran into the darkness, carrying the dragon child who was never meant to survive the night. The war had just changed, and neither side knew it yet. The fire that should not survive. The forest exploded with sound. Branches snapped. Shadows moved fast between trees. The shadow beasts were no longer hiding. Captain Eric ran. The dragon child was light in his arms, too light. His small body was cold, even under the cloak. His breathing was weak and uneven. Behind them, the beasts howled. One of the soldiers fired a crossbow. A bolt hit something in the dark. A scream followed. Not human, not dragon. Keep moving, Eric ordered. The ground was uneven. Roots twisted under their boots. The night made everything worse. A beast leaped from the side. It was tall, thin, and wrong. Its body looked like smoke and bone mixed together. Its eyes glowed deep red. Eric turned just in time. He drew his sword and struck. Steel met shadow. The blade cut through, but the creature did not fall. It twisted unnaturally and slashed forward. One soldier screamed as claws cut across his armor. The dragon child watched from Eric's arms. He felt the fear around him. He felt the hate in the beasts. And something inside him moved. Something small. Something warm. Eric kicked the creature back and shouted, "Fall back. Form line." The soldiers formed a half circle around him. 3 beasts stepped into the torchlight. Their shapes flickered like living nightmares. The dragon child tried to stand. He slipped from Eric's arms and fell to the ground. "Stay down," Eric said quickly. But the dragon did not listen. The beasts moved closer. One of them sniffed the air. It was not looking at the soldiers. It was looking at the child. The dragon child understood then. They were not here by accident. They were here for him. One beast lunged forward. Eric stepped between it and the dragon. Steel flashed again. This time a beast knocked Eric back. He hit a tree hard. His sword fell from his hand. The soldiers tried to help, but 2 more beasts attacked them. The dragon child was alone. The largest beast stepped toward him slowly. Its red eyes burned brighter. The dragon child felt something deep inside his chest. Not fear, not pain, heat. His breathing changed. The beast opened its mouth, and in that second, the dragon child screamed. But it was not a scream of fear. It was a scream of power. Golden fire exploded from his mouth. Not small, not weak. It burst forward like a storm. The beast did not even have time to react. The golden flame touched it, and it turned to ash instantly. Silence filled the forest. The other beasts froze. The fire was not normal dragon fire. It was bright gold, almost white at the center. It did not spread to the trees. It did not burn the ground. It only burned the enemy. Eric stared in shock. The dragon child's eyes were glowing. Not red, not orange, gold. The remaining beasts slowly stepped back. They were afraid. Then, without warning, they disappeared into the darkness. The forest became quiet again, but this time it was different. The dragon child's fire faded. His eyes returned to normal. He looked confused. Then he collapsed. Eric rushed to him. He lifted the small dragon again, checking for burns. There were none. The soldiers gathered around. "What was that?" one whispered. Eric had no answer. He looked at the ashes on the ground. There was nothing left of the beast, not even bone. "That was not normal fire," another soldier said quietly. "No," Eric replied. In the distance, thunder rolled across the sky, but there were no clouds. High above the forest, something large moved between the stars. Watching, they reached the hidden cabin before dawn. It was old, built near the edge of the human border. No one else knew about it. Eric placed the dragon child near the fireplace. One soldier began treating his wounds carefully. The dragon flinched at first, but did not resist. After a while, the other soldiers stepped outside to guard the area. Eric remained inside. The small dragon slowly opened his eyes. He looked at the fire in the fireplace. Then he looked at Eric. There was confusion in his gaze. "You did not leave," the dragon child said weakly. His voice was soft and rough. Eric gave a small smile. "No. Why?" the dragon asked again. It was not anger. It was real confusion. Eric thought for a moment. Because someone should stand between a child and death. The dragon child did not understand fully, but he felt something he had never felt before. Safety. Outside, the wind began to rise. The soldiers heard something above them. A deep sound. Heavy wings cutting through the air. They looked up, and their blood ran cold. High in the sky, a massive black dragon circled the forest. Its eyes were glowing red. It had seen the golden fire. It had seen everything. Inside the cabin, the dragon child slowly closed his eyes again. He was safe for now, but the sky had noticed him, and the council would not ignore what happened tonight. The fire that was supposed to die had awakened, and now the world would come looking for it. The hunt that woke the sky. The sky did not forget. By morning, the news had already reached the Dragon Council. The black dragon who watched the valley landed before the ancient stone circle high in the mountains. His name was Varkesh, the High Enforcer. He bowed his massive head. "The child lives," he said. Murmurs spread among the elder dragons. "That is impossible. The beasts never fail." Varkesh's voice was calm but heavy. He burned one to ash. Silence. "With normal fire?" one elder asked. "No," Varkesh replied. "Golden." The oldest dragon slowly lifted his ancient head. His scales were dark silver, scarred by centuries. "Send the sky hunters." Not soldiers. Not guards. Sky hunters were trackers trained to erase threats quietly. The decision was made. The child would not survive another night. At the cabin, the dragon child woke suddenly. His eyes opened wide. He felt it. Something in the air had changed. Eric was sharpening his sword near the door. "You felt it too?" Eric asked without looking at him. The dragon nodded slowly. "They are coming." Eric stood up. "How many?" The dragon closed his eyes, trying to understand the strange feeling inside him. "Not beasts," he whispered. "Wings." Outside, the wind stopped again. The soldiers stepped into defensive positions. Then the sky darkened. 3 massive shadows passed over the trees. They did not roar. They did not threaten. They circled slowly like silent judges. The sky hunters had arrived. Eric stepped outside. He did not draw his sword. He simply looked up. One dragon descended slowly and landed in front of the cabin. The ground shook when it touched the earth. Its scales were dark blue. Its eyes were cold and intelligent. "Human," the dragon's deep voice echoed. "Return what is not yours." Eric stood firm. "He is not yours either," Eric replied calmly. The dragon's eyes narrowed. "He belongs to the council. He belongs to himself," Eric answered. The other 2 dragons landed behind him, blocking escape. Inside the cabin, the dragon child stepped outside. The moment the sky hunter saw his eyes, something changed. Gold flickered faintly in them. The blue dragon looked closer. "You were supposed to fade quietly," it said. The dragon child did not lower his gaze this time. "You left me to die." The air grew heavy. The sky hunter's wings slowly opened. "You are unstable. Dangerous." The council acted for balance. The dragon child felt anger rise in his chest. But not wild anger. Controlled. Deep. "Balance," he repeated softly. "Or fear." The blue dragon moved faster than lightning. It lunged forward to grab a child. Eric jumped between them. His sword clashed against Dragon Claw. Sparks exploded. The impact threw Eric backward, but he did not fall. The other soldiers fired bolts into the sky. The second dragon unleashed flame, but something strange happened. Before the fire reached the cabin, golden light flared around the dragon child. The red flame split in 2 and bent away from him. Even the sky hunters froze. The golden light was not fire this time. It was a shield. The dragon child looked at his own claws. He was not trying to burn. He was trying to protect, and the power responded. The blue dragon stepped back slowly. "This is not natural." The third dragon finally spoke. It is ancient. The forest trembled as the golden light pulsed once. Not outward, upward, like a signal. Far above the clouds, something older stirred. Something the council had hoped would never wake again. The blue dragon realized something terrible. If he learns control, he will not need dragons. Eric stepped beside the child. "We are done running," Eric said quietly. The dragon child looked at him. "You are afraid," the child said softly. Eric gave a small smile. "Yes." That honesty surprised even the sky hunters. "But I'm not leaving," Eric continued. The golden glow faded slowly. The child was breathing hard, but he did not collapse this time. He was stronger. The blue dragon lifted its head. "This changes everything," it said to the others. "This is no longer removal." "What is it?" one asked. "Preparation." The three dragons spread their wings. Before taking off, the blue dragon looked one last time at the child. "The council will not send hunters next time." It rose into the sky. "They will send war." The dragons disappeared into the clouds. The forest remained standing, but the air felt different, heavier. Inside the cabin, Eric placed his sword down. The dragon child sat near the doorway, looking at his hands. "I do not try to burn them," he said quietly. "I know," Eric replied. The child looked up. "What am I?" Eric did not answer immediately. Outside, thunder rolled across a clear sky. "You are someone they fear," Eric finally said. Far in the mountains, the oldest dragon opened his eyes fully. Golden light had reached even him, and for the first time in centuries. The council was not in control. The hunt was over. Now the world was preparing for something much bigger. And the child who was meant to die had just awakened the sky, the flame they tried to erase. High in the mountains, the dragon council gathered again. The stone circle trembled under their weight. The golden light was seen across the skies, one elder said. It reached the old peak, another added nervously. The oldest dragon slowly stood. His name was Malor. He had ruled longer than any dragon alive. "We made a mistake," Malor said quietly. Silence fell. "We thought the night-born flame would not awaken again." One younger dragon growled. "It was only a legend." Malor's ancient eyes burned. "No, it was a warning." Far away, at the edge of the human lands, the cabin stood quiet. But the peace felt thin. Captain Eric stood outside, watching the horizon. The dragon child sat near the lake behind the cabin. The water reflected the sky like a mirror. He looked at his reflection. Silver scales, small horns, but his eyes. Sometimes gold flickered inside them without warning. He placed his claw on the water. The surface glowed softly. He pulled back quickly. "I did not mean to," he whispered. "You are not breaking it," a voice said from behind. The dragon child turned sharply. An old dragon stood at the edge of the trees. He was smaller than the sky hunters, but carried something heavier, wisdom. His scales were faded bronze, and one wing was torn from an old battle. Eric stepped forward immediately, sword ready. The old dragon did not attack. "If I came to fight," he said calmly, "your cabin would already be ash." Eric did not lower his blade. "Then speak quickly." The old dragon looked at the child. "My name is Sereth." The dragon child felt something strange, not fear, not anger. Recognition. "You are night-born," Sereth said softly. The child swallowed. "What does that mean?" Sereth moved closer to the lake. Long before the council ruled, dragons were not divided by power. Some are born with flame, some with storm, some with ice. He looked directly into the child's eyes. "And once in 1,000 years, one is born without flame." Eric frowned. "That sounds weak." Sereth shook his head slowly. "Without flame at first." The dragon child listened carefully. "The night-born flame awakens only when the child faces death and chooses not hate, but protection." Eric and the child both went silent. "You did not burn the forest," Sereth continued. "You did not burn the soldiers. You burned only the threat." The child's voice was small. "Why did they leave me to die?" Sereth's eyes hardened. "Because the Nightborn does not serve the council." The wind grew stronger. "When fully awakened," Sereth said carefully, "your fire does not destroy blindly. It judges. It protects balance." Eric slowly understood. They cannot control him. Sereth nodded. And that is why they fear him. Suddenly, the sky cracked with thunder. Not natural thunder. Red lightning tore across the clouds. Sereth's expression changed. They are moving early. Eric looked up. Dark shapes were forming in the sky. Not 3 this time. Dozens. The council was not waiting. They are not coming to capture, Sereth said quietly. They are coming to erase. The dragon child stood. Fear rose inside him again. But this time, something else rose with it. Strength. I do not want war, he said. Sereth looked at him. War already wants you. The first wave descended. Fire rained from the sky. Eric shouted for the soldiers to take cover. Sereth launched into the air despite his damaged wing. The dragon child felt the ground shake as massive dragons landed around the forest. The blue sky hunter from before stepped forward. This ends now. The dragon child stepped in front of the cabin. I will not run. The blue dragon unleashed a massive wave of flame. Eric's heart stopped, but before the fire touched the child, golden light exploded outward. Not a small burst, not a shield, a pillar. A beam of golden fire shot into the sky like a signal to the heavens. Every dragon froze. The red lightning above shifted direction. It struck the golden pillar. Instead of destroying it, the lightning merged with it. The sky turned half gold, half red. The ground trembled violently. Deep in the mountains, Malor felt it. His eyes widened in horror. He is not just Nightborn, Malor whispered. He is Ascendant. Back at the cabin, the golden pillar expanded outward in a slow wave. It did not burn dragons. It pushed them back, forced them to kneel. Even the sky hunters dropped to one claw. The dragon child floated slightly above the ground, eyes fully gold now. But he was not angry. He was calm. His voice echoed, deeper than before. I do not belong to fear. The golden wave faded. The dragon stared in shock. The child slowly lowered back to the earth. The glow disappeared. He felt his knees exhausted. Sereth landed beside him. The blue sky hunter looked shaken. This changes the order, it said quietly. Sereth's voice was firm. No. He looked at the child with something close to hope. It changes the world. The attacking dragons slowly retreated. Not in defeat, in uncertainty. The council had tried to erase a problem. Instead, they awakened a force older than their rule. Eric lifted the dragon child carefully. The child whispered weakly, I did not want to hurt them. You didn't, Eric said softly. Above them, the sky slowly cleared. But far away, in the ancient mountain chamber, Malor gave a new order. If he ascends fully, Malor said coldly, dragons will no longer rule. His eyes darkened. Prepare the Dominion. War was no longer coming. It was being prepared, and the child who was left to die had just proven he could command the sky itself. The Dominion rises. The golden light faded, but its echo did not. Across the mountains, across the human borders, across the skies, everyone felt it, and everyone reacted. In the human capital, King Edric stood at the highest tower balcony. He had seen the sky split into gold and red. His general stood behind him. That was not a normal dragon clash, one general said quietly. No, the king replied. That was something new. A scout rushed in. My king, reports from the border. Dragons gathered in large numbers. But they retreated. Retreated, the king repeated. Yes, my king. They did not attack the human towns. They circled, then pulled back. The king narrowed his eyes. They are not retreating, he said slowly. They are preparing. Back at the cabin, the dragon child slept for almost a full day. His body was still small, but the air around him felt different now. Calmer, controlled. Sereth remained nearby, watching the forest carefully. Eric stepped outside with him. You said something, Eric began. Ascendant. Sereth nodded once. The Nightborn flame awakens through protection, he said. But ascendant power awakens when the world itself answers. Eric frowned. Answers what? Sereth looked toward the mountains. Imbalance. The wind shifted suddenly. Sereth's expression hardened. They're doing it. Doing what? Eric asked. Sereth's voice dropped, waking the Dominion. High in the ancient mountain chamber, Malur stood before a massive stone gate. The gate was carved with symbols older than the council itself. 7 elder dragons stood behind him. "We swore never to open it again," one whispered. Malur's eyes were cold. "And we swore to protect dragon rule." He placed his claw on the stone. The symbols began to glow red. "This child is not controllable," Malur continued. "If he ascends fully, dragons will kneel to balance, not power." The elders hesitated. "That is not our way." Malur turned sharply. "Our way is survival." The stone gate slowly began to open. From inside came a deep vibration. Not a roar, not a growl, a pulse. Ancient, hungry. At the cabin, the dragon child suddenly woke up. He gasped for air. Eric rushed to him. "What is it?" The child's golden eyes flickered wildly. "It's wrong," he whispered. "Something old." Saratha's wings tightened. They broke the oath. The ground shook lightly. Not for dragons flying. From something deeper. The dragon child stood on shaking legs. "They're waking something that does not listen." Far in the mountains, the stone gate fully opened. Dark smoke rolled out. Then a single massive claw stepped into the light. Not scaled, not smooth. Cracked, black like burned stone. A dragon older than records slowly emerged. Its wings were torn but massive. Its horns twisted backward like broken crowns. Its eyes were not red. They were empty. This was not a sky hunter, not an elder. This was Dominion, a dragon created long ago to end wars by ending everything. Malur stepped back slightly as the creature fully rose. "We call upon the Dominion," Malur said carefully. The massive dragon looked down at the council. Its voice was like stone grinding. Balance broken. Malur pointed toward the distant horizon. "The Nightborn threatens dragon rule." Dominion's empty eyes shifted. "Nightborn awakens." For the first time, a small crack of uncertainty appeared on Malur's face. Dominion's head tilted slowly. "Council lies." Silence fell over the mountain. The elders stiffened. Dominion stepped forward once. The mountain itself trembled. "You fear balance," Dominion said. Malur's voice hardened. "We fear extinction." Dominion's wings expanded slightly. "Then you awaken extinction." Without warning, Dominion launched into the sky. Not toward the cabin, not toward humans, toward everything. The sky darkened as it moved. Back at the border, the dragon child looked up suddenly. He felt it clearly now. Not anger, not fear, judgment. "It is not coming for me," the child said quietly. Sarath realized the truth too late. "It is coming for imbalance." Eric gripped his sword. "And who decides what that means?" The dragon child's voice was soft. "It does." Far away, the first mountain fell. Not destroyed by flame, crushed by force. Dominion landed in the valley between dragon lands and human lands. Its roar shook both kingdoms. Humans panicked. Dragons froze. Dominion was not attacking sides. It was measuring them. Golden light flickered faintly around the dragon child again. Not bright, not explosive. Steady. He looked toward the horizon with new understanding. "It is testing the world," he said. Sarath stared at him carefully. "And you?" The dragon child swallowed. "I think it is testing me too." Eric placed a firm hand on the child's shoulder. "Then we face it together." The wind rose violently. Dominion's shadow covered half the land. The council had tried to control fate. Instead, they had released something that could erase both dragons and humans. And now the small dragon, once left to die, was the only one who could stand before it. Next part will bring the first direct encounter between the child and Dominion, and reveal the hidden truth about who truly broke balance long ago. The judgment of fire and stone. The sky did not move. It pressed down. Clouds twisted above the valley where Dominion had landed. No army dared to approach. Not dragons. Not humans. The ground around Dominion was cracked in a perfect circle. Trees were flattened without flame. Mountains in the distance had split from the shock of its arrival. It stood still, waiting. At the border cabin, the dragon child stepped forward. "I have to go," he said quietly. Eric did not argue. He only asked one thing. "Will you come back?" The child looked at him. "I don't know." That answer hurt more than fear. Sarath lowered his head. Dominion does not fight blindly. It judges. If it sees imbalance, it erases it. Eric tightened his grip on his sword. Then we show it something else. The dragon child's golden light began to glow again, softer now, controlled. I think it is not angry, the child said. It is disappointed. They reached the valley by dusk. Both armies had gathered at a distance. Human soldiers stood behind shields. Dragon warriors filled the skies. But no one moved. In the center stood Dominion. Massive, silent. Its empty eyes slowly shifted as the dragon child walked forward. Each step felt heavy, not because of fear, because something inside him was pulling toward Dominion, like two flames recognizing each other. Eric walked beside him. Sereth flew above, keeping distance. When they were close enough, Dominion finally spoke. Nightborn. The voice was not loud, but it shook bones. The dragon child forced himself to stand straight. Yes. Dominion lowered its head slightly. You awaken. Yes. Council breaks oath. The dragon child's eyes flickered. What oath? Dominion's body rumbled like distant thunder. Long ago, dragons sought control, not balance. Images flashed in the child's mind. Not memories, but something deeper. Ancient dragons fighting not for survival, but for dominance. Burning lands. Forcing humans to kneel. Breaking the natural order. They created me, Dominion continued. To end war. To erase imbalance. Eric stepped forward slightly. And who decides imbalance? He demanded. Dominion's empty gaze shifted to him. Power without restraint. The words hit like truth. Dominion turned back to the child. Nightborn restores balance. The child swallowed. By destroying dragons? By destroying corruption. A ripple of tension moved through the watching dragon army. Malor stood among them, silent, calculating. Dominion's massive claw lifted slowly. Council corrupt. Gasps echoed across the valley. Malor's eyes darkened. This creature is unstable, he shouted from the sky. It twists truth. Dominion did not even look at him. Council feared Nightborn, it said, because Nightborn cannot be controlled. The dragon child felt anger rise again. Not wild anger. Clear anger. You left me to die, he said loudly, his voice echoing unnaturally across the valley. Malor descended closer. You were unpredictable. Malor roared. Your power could shatter dragon rule. The child's golden light grew brighter. Maybe dragon rule needed to shatter. Silence. Dominion stepped aside slightly. Choose, it said to the child. Destroy corruption, or I will. The valley trembled. If Dominion attacked, thousands would die. Dragons. Humans. Maybe both. The dragon child's breathing became uneven. He was still small. Still young. How could this choice be his? Eric stepped beside him fully now. You are not alone, Eric said firmly. The child looked at him. You always stand between me and death. Eric gave a small smile. Maybe today you stand between everyone and death. The golden light expanded slowly. Not explosive. Not violent. Steady. The dragon child walked toward Dominion. Every dragon warrior tensed. Human archers pulled back their bows. The child stopped directly in front of the ancient giant. He looked up. I will not let you erase everything, the child said. Dominion's empty eyes studied him. Then restore balance. The child closed his eyes. He reached inward. Not for fire. Not for destruction. For truth. Golden light flowed outward, but not as flame. As waves. It passed over dragons first. Some cried out. Not from pain. From exposure. Dark marks appeared faintly on certain dragons. Symbols of broken oaths, hidden cruelty, corruption. When the light reached Malor, it flared violently. The mark on him burned brightest. The army saw it. Dominion rumbled deeply. Corruption confirmed. Malor panicked. You would turn dragons against their own kind? He roared at the child. The dragon child opened his glowing eyes. You turned them first. Dominion stepped forward. Judgment. Malor unleashed massive red lightning toward the child in desperation. Eric jumped in front instinctively. But before the lightning struck, the golden light absorbed it. Not blocked. Absorbed. The child's power had grown. Dominion watched carefully. Then, for the first time, Dominion bowed its massive head. Balance accepted. Gasps filled the valley. Dominion turned its empty gaze toward Malur. Corruption removed. Before Malur could escape, Dominion's claw struck the ground. Not with flame, with force. The shock wave shattered the sky around him. Malur fell. Not dead, but stripped. His red lightning vanished. His power drained. He crashed into the earth, powerless. Dominion stepped back. Judgment complete. The skies slowly cleared. The tension that had gripped the world loosened. Dominion looked at the dragon, child one last time. You are not weapon. It paused. You are correction. Then the ancient dragon spread its massive wings. Stone cracked beneath it, and it rose into the clouds, disappearing beyond sight. The valley stood silent. Dragons stared at the small child. Humans stared too. The dragon who was meant to die had just judged a king and survived. But as the golden light faded, the child stumbled. Eric caught him before he fell. The war was not burning anymore, but something else had begun. Not rule, not fear, something new. And now, both dragons and humans had to decide if they were ready to live under balance instead of power. The flame that chose its own future. The valley remained silent long after Dominion disappeared. No one cheered. No one spoke. The air felt lighter, but uncertain. Malur lay on the cracked earth, breathing but powerless. The glowing marks that once covered his scales were gone. He looked smaller now, not in size, in presence. The dragon child stood in front of him, supported by Eric's steady arm. The golden glow around the child had faded to a soft warmth. Dragons filled the sky. Humans waited behind their shields. Everything stood at a single moment of choice. One dragon warrior slowly descended beside Malur. He looked at the fallen elder, then at the child. You exposed him, the warrior said carefully. The dragon child shook his head. I showed what was already there. Murmurs spread across the dragon ranks. For centuries, the council ruled with strength. Now they had seen something stronger. Truth. Malur forced himself to lift his head. You think this changes dragons? He said weakly. Power always returns. The dragon child stepped closer. Not if we choose something else. The word choose echoed through the valley. It was simple, but it carried weight. Sereth landed behind the child. The old rule ends here, Sereth declared loudly. Not by force, by exposure. One by one, dragon warriors lowered their heads. Not to Malur, to the child. But the child raised his claw quickly. No, he said firmly. They froze. I'm not your ruler. Confusion passed through them. You bowed to power before, the child continued. That created fear. I will not become another fear. Eric watched quietly, pride and worry mixed in his eyes. The child turned slowly, first toward the dragons, then toward the humans. For too long, he said, dragons ruled above. Humans survived below. The human king had arrived at the edge of the valley with his guard. He listened closely. That imbalance created dominion, the child continued, and it almost destroyed us. He looked toward the sky where dominion vanished. I will not rule dragons. I will not command humans. The valley grew still again. Then what will you do? Eric asked softly. The dragon child turned to him. I will stand between. The words were not loud, but they carried more strength than any roar. Sereth understood first. Not king, Sereth said slowly. Guardian. The dragon child nodded. If power grows corrupt again, I will remind it. The human king stepped forward carefully. And what of humans? He asked. The dragon child looked at him directly. You will no longer hide behind fear, either. The king did not argue. He bowed his head slightly. Not in submission, in agreement. Across the valley, dragons began lowering themselves to the ground. Humans slowly lowered their weapons. No command was given. It simply happened. Malur closed his eyes. The age of dragon rule is over, he whispered. Sereth corrected him gently. No, the age of balance begins. Days later, the broken valley became something else. Dragons helped rebuild the shattered mountain paths. Humans repaired burned forests. For the first time in history, both worked in the same space without drawing weapons. The dragon child stood at the center of it all, not giving orders, not ruling, simply present. His golden light no longer burst uncontrollably. It rested inside him, steady, controlled. Eric stood beside him, as always. You changed the world, Eric said quietly. The dragon child looked at the sky. No, he replied softly. The world chose to change. Eric smiled slightly. You sound older than you are. The dragon child tilted his head. I had to grow fast. For a moment, they both laughed quietly. Then the child became serious again. I remember the night in the valley, he said. Eric did not respond immediately. You were supposed to kill me, the dragon child continued. Eric shook his head. I was supposed to follow orders. The child looked at him carefully. But you chose. Eric nodded. Yes. The dragon child looked toward the horizon where dragons now flew freely. Not in patrol, not in war. Just flying. The council chose fear, the child said. You chose protection. He stepped closer to Eric. That is why I lived. The wind moved gently through the valley now. Not heavy, not tense. Free. Sareth approached one final time. There will always be imbalance, Sareth said. The dragon child nodded. I know. And when that day comes, the child's golden eyes flickered softly. I will not wait for dominion. Sareth gave a slow, proud nod. Far above, high beyond the clouds, dominion watched silently. Not as ruler, not as executioner, as witness. The Nightborn flame had not destroyed the world. It had corrected it. And for the first time in centuries, dragons and humans did not fear the sky. They shared it. The dragon child who expected the night to kill him became the flame that refused to let the world burn. And this time, the night did not win.